for me today, I'm ready.
Steady your hearts. Look deep into your souls. Seize your glory!
A wind has blown across Greece. A wind of vengeance.
Themistocles is the general of an Athenian army who is under constant battle with the Persian Empire.
In order to last against the mighty nation, he's going to need some help from Sparta, but they're not budging.
Now, Themistocles must not only find a way to last through all the Persians' attacks, but also manage to defeat their naval commander, Artemisia. Rise of an Empire's approach to narrative as a sequel to 300 is, in a word, fascinating. The movie takes place before, during, and after the events of the original, with several plot threads actually directly tying in to the plight of King Leonidas and his men.
That is a daunting, near unthinkable task on paper, but surprisingly enough, it actually works. But what really impressed me about 300 Rise of an Empire was how seamlessly it spliced together the original events of 300 into its own narrative. The film tries to wrap its own story around 300's events, and it does it perfectly, so much so that if you haven't seen the original 300, you can pretty much get through this movie without a scratch.
I went into 300 Rise having not seen the original film, so I really appreciated the creative way in which this story is a parallel tale to the one told in the original. Not only is this a very unique approach to a sequel, which I would love to see more of, but it pretty much gave me two stories for the price of one. Albeit one very, very abridged.
I'm always appreciative of when filmmakers take something inherently ridiculous, turn it into a movie, and still keep that ridiculousness intact completely. The film attempts to replicate the unique visual style that Zach Snyder became famous for upon the original's release. And for the most part, it succeeds, though a little bit overdone.
Everything, and I mean everything that made the look of the original 300 so iconic is here in full force, replicated perfectly. From the grandiose cinematography, to the dark washed out colors, to even, yes, the brutal yet stunning violence.
The battle sequences are absurdly violent, riddled with slow-motion slashes and blood-splattered bodies flying left and right. I mean, it's some crazy stuff. If you enjoyed the on-foot action in the original, then you will love the insane naval battles here.
300 Rise is a visual treat. The gorgeous use of lighting especially makes this movie a feast for the eyes. Combine that with the epic use of slow motion, and you've got the best looking film I've seen all year.
It's black and white and especially red all over the place. And while this may sound a tad unhealthy, I'm a sucker for some good old-fashioned blood and guts. 300 Rise of an Empire's action scenes are not only very fun to watch, they're also very easy to respect. I mean, they're very well shot, and surprisingly enough, they're also very well choreographed.
As someone who has appreciated swordsmanship for as long as I can remember, Rise of an Empire's approach to its small-scale action made me very happy. They didn't shoot the combat with shaky cam or edit it rapidly, no. They backed up and slowed it down, bringing to light just superb choreography. Some of the kills are honestly beautiful, as morbid as that sounds, due to the artistry put into them. Whenever blades were crossed in this film, it was poetry.
However, the film's biggest spectacle doesn't really come from the epic cinematography or the bloody action scenes. It actually comes from the film's main antagonist.
I mean, wow. Talk about a showstopper.
Eva Green is just brilliant as Artemisia, and you can tell because there are so many ways to describe this truly three-dimensional character. She's cunning, she's conniving, she's tortured, she's bloodthirsty, but most importantly, she's voluptuous.
Everything she says and everything she does is just awesome. Even when standing next to a literal god, she's the one that commands everyone's attention.
The way her character is written is also superb, providing a sympathetic origin story and then clashing that with the brutal and vile attitude she has now.
What could have been a throwaway bad guy turns into easily the most memorable part of the film due to an incredible sense of intensity from Eva Green. This is an actor that could have easily just phoned in this performance, but instead she threw everything into the role. And for that, we applaud you. Besides Artemisia, none of the characters are memorable in any way, and this especially applies to the protagonist, Themistocles, I think. When you get down to it, the drama of 300 Rise all hangs on whether or not you care about the characters who are willing to give their lives to save Greece. The problem with that is that I didn't. At all. So the story holds no emotional weight. At all.
The real problems that plague Rise of an Empire are pretty much the exact same ones that plague the original. The performances, outside of Ava Green of course, are exaggerated and overplayed to a fault. The voiceover narration is 90% unnecessary, though it does provide for an interesting gotcha moment at the end. The screenplay is, overall, pretty terrible, with dialogue so mechanical and robotic it reminds you that we are talking about a movie that is adapted from a Frank Miller book. Oh, and that Rise of an Empire thing doesn't make any sense. At all. There's literally no reason for it to be there. It's still baffling to see that none of the problems within the original were addressed here.
Rise of an Empire is thankfully pretty easy to follow. Mainly because it simplifies its story to a near lazy degree. Just like its predecessor 7 years ago, it's good guys versus bad guys. Plain and simple. And they do try to add some minimal depth to it, but it never really works.
Whenever the film tries to be something deeper or more emotional than it can pull off, it's just uncomfortable. I mean, the only way to really appreciate this film is to just let go and enjoy the ride. And these scenes almost ruin that. I mean, it's like you're on a really fun roller coaster, right? You're having a good time. And then the ride is stopped so you can hear a lecture about poverty in Africa.
It is certainly fun to watch, but by the end of it, 300 Rise of an Empire becomes an incredibly embarrassingly cliche game of connect the dots.
The sequel to 300 is its twin sibling in a lot of ways. All of the good stuff that people remember, like the over-the-top action, stylistic approach, and crazy attitude, are here fully intact, alongside Artemisia, who totally steals the show. However, the same problems that plague the original, like a terrible screenplay and really, really bad acting, are here as well, now accompanied by a plot that is difficult to follow. It's a trade-off for a more intelligent film, and though I appreciate and respect Rise of an Empire's attempt at a unique narrative structure, that doesn't excuse it from its problems.
300 Rise is definitely a film that has an undeniable passion to it, though. Everything the movie likes is just the most awesome thing ever, and I couldn't help but join in that enthusiasm. You're right, movie. That was really cool.
300 Rise of an Empire is still a good film. You have an engaging narrative, fun action, an interesting look, and most importantly, an amazingly memorable performance from Eva Green. Maybe if the film was a little bit deeper, story and writing-wise, I may have given it a higher score, but as of now, it is definitely worth a ticket purchase at least. 300 Rise of an Empire receives a 7 out of 10.
300 Rise of an Empire gets a 6.5 out of 10.
300 Rise of an Empire scores a 6 out of 10.
Happy Saturday, everyone. This is Larry Freed from RuleThirds.com. Thank you so much for watching our review of 300 Rise of an Empire. Turned out pretty good, and I appreciate your viewership and time. Of course, you can go to RuleThirds.com to check out the rest of our content, including all of our shows and our podcast that goes up every Wednesday on RuleThirds.com and YouTube. Plus, next Saturday, right around this time, you can expect an episode of Recommendation Domination all about 300 Rise of an Empire from yours truly. It's going to be a good one, so stay tuned for that. My name is Larry Free. Thank you so much for checking out this video, and hopefully you'll go to RuleThirds.com for more. Take care.